That's a difficult question to actually answer, because what constitutes a hate crime is really a legal and juristic question that has long histories in different countries that have very different understandings of freedom of speech and hate and crime, etc. And so in different countries, actually, what constitutes a hate crime is quite varied. But I think what's important here to recognize, as I said, is that it is a spectacle. It was an event to provoke Muslims around the world to protest, which, in a sense, as much as they have a right to, in a sense, burn the Quran by their freedom of speech idea, then Muslims also have a right to protest such an act. In their eyes. But unfortunately, such responses often fulfill the idea, the vision of Islamophobics. That is, when they do something that provokes Muslims, Muslims often respond angrily, they protest. And in so doing, they actually prove to the Islamophobes that Muslims are angry, they're violent, they're uncivil. And so one has to start searching for new type of responses. And how do we respond? How do we take the anger that one feels when one sees one religion being so decimated and so sort of maligned? What do we do with that anger, and how can we turn it into something productive and not just, in a sense, back and forth kind of anger and a showing of a tit for tat, if you will? And so here, in a sense, at the Center of Muslim Experience, we began the process of creating the center just last year. It's a new center, but it came out of a very similar event at our university, at Arizona State University, where we had a Quran that was actually torn apart in our library by an unknown assailant. And so this obviously upset our huge Muslim student body. In fact, we have about 8,000 Muslim students at ASU, at our university, many of them from the Gulf region, including a number of Emiratis and from other countries in the Gulf region, as well as a number of American students, American Muslims. And so out of the discussions that came out of that, it was realized that, well, how do we counter this? And can we do this productively? And it was really, how do we give voice to Muslims to document and show their own lives, who we are as Muslims, our rich diversity of cultures that make up Muslims around the world, and in the United States, are very different experiences. In the United States itself, some Muslims came as slaves and were enslaved. Some has come as refugees, others as economic immigrants. Others are converts like myself, who found a place within the religion. And so all that diversity of histories and experiences of who we are as Muslims needs to be sort of shared in a more positive light and just create a counter narrative. And that's in a sense, what needs to be done, and not just play into what the Islamophobes want us to do by showing our anger and by protesting so extensively.